They always ask me, Mine, how did you get so mature for your age? What is your secret? And honestly, it's simple, but nobody wants to hear it. So I stopped being the victim and I started blaming myself for everything. I know it sounds harsh, it's not soft, it's not the comfortable answer you were looking for or the way out that you were looking for, but that exactly is the problem because you are looking for a comfortable answer when you need uncomfortable truth. See, most people are stuck in mediocrity because they're addicted to being the victim. And I get it because it's nice and you love someone to blame, you love to get sympathy, you love your excuses why you're stuck and why you don't move forward. But the moment you stop being the victim and start taking responsibility for your own life, you become a threat to everyone, to the system, to everyone who ever took benefit from your weakness. You even become a threat to your own self, your own excuses. So today I'm breaking down the four brutal signs that you have made a shift, that you have stopped being prey and became the predator of your own life. So by the end of this video, you will know exactly where you stand and which version of you that has to die to level up. So if you are ready to stop playing small and become dangerous, keep watching. The first sign is that you blame yourself even though you went through real shit. So look, when I say blame yourself, I don't mean it in a self-hatred way or toxic way, and I'm also not saying that the bad things that happened to you that it was your fault. But here's the truth, at some point you have to heal the version of yourself that allowed those things to happen. The version of yourself that accepted those things and the one that stayed in these situations even though you knew it was time to go. So let me get personal for this one. I went through some real bad things when I was young, and it was not my fault. It was not, because at a young age, like, you don't have control over these things and you don't even realize what's happening, right? And I could talk about relationships or bad friendships or family issues. These were not your fault. These are situations where I was disrespected, being used for my body. They took advantage of my kindness. And for the longest time, I held on to that. And yeah, they did those things. That's real. But here's also what I had to face. Why did I accept that? Why did I keep going back even though it was not worth it? Why did I ignore the red flags that were there since the beginning? Why did I dim my own light to make other people feel comfortable? And that's the version of me that I had to blame, not for what they did, but for what I allowed to happen. The victim version of you holds your trauma like it's your identity. You use your past as an excuse why you don't move forward. You're so attached to your wound that you don't know who you would be without it, and it's normal because you can't fill up that space with good memories, right? For example, if you had the worst childhood ever, you can't replace that with a good childhood because you never got a chance. So it's normal. But when you stop playing the victim, you get this brutal self accountability. And I still go through all of this at this moment. Like 2025 has been a great year for this. I started to sit alone by myself and start asking myself questions like, why did I keep allowing that? Like the first time, right? Like you don't know better. But if you keep going back to the same situation over and over again, why do I do that? Why do I ignore red flags? Why do I shrink myself to make people comfortable? Why do I not speak out if people disrespect me? And it hurt, and it still does. It even hurts worse than the betrayal itself, because it meant that I had to take responsibility for my parts of my pain. But that's also where the healing started. I actually did this like since I was a young age, but like just as I said, at a young age you don't know what's happening, right? But I'm now at the age that I finally realized those things and it hurts. It's uncomfortable. So I started healing and not to blame them, but to blame myself and healing the version of me that accepted less than I deserved. So here's a thing that you need to understand. You can acknowledge that these people hurt you, and at the same time, you can take responsibility for your own parts, for why you stayed. Both can be true, and both is needed to heal. Because if you don't heal the hard part, you will keep attracting the same situation over and over again, but with different faces. So ask yourself these uncomfortable questions. What did I tolerate what I knew was wrong? What red flags did I ignore? And what version of me accepted treatments that I knew I didn't deserve? Write it down. Then decide that version of you is dead. You're not blaming yourself to feel bad, but you are taking your power back so it would never happen again. The second sign is that you actually mourn the death of the old version of you, and it hurts like hell. Becoming dangerous requires you to bury an old version of you, or even more versions. The version that kept you safe, the version of you that you loved, that kept you comfortable. And this is something that I have done for almost my whole life, but this year was the hardest for me because I finally realized what I wanted to become, and it asked me to kill everything, if that makes sense. I had to kill the version of myself that needed to be liked, the version of myself that apologized for everything, like for not wanting to hang out, for the one that had ambition, the one that wanted to do something. I always asked permission or validation from the wrong people. So it means that I was shrinking myself to make other people comfortable. And I'm not going to lie, losing that version of myself felt like losing a friend. But here's something that they don't tell you: the victim version of yourself is not just a character that you play, it's your identity, it's who you are at that moment. It's an identity that you build to keep yourself safe. It's gotten you sympathy. It's even given you a community of victims who were at the same place as you. People who validated your excuses, people who felt comfortable with having someone that's going through the same things as them. But when you decide to stop playing the victim, it's not only your mindset that changes, it's literally killing off your whole identity. And your brain will fight. It will fight back hard. And this started actually in January for me. And like I remember I was so in pain. I felt so disrespected because of someone who was in my life back then. And I was constantly crying like, why does this happen to me? Why do I keep attracting the same person that doesn't see my value? So I started looking at myself in the mirror, and I started to tell myself like, you have to change, like you have to do something about it. I realized that I had to build a new version of me. And you know what's crazy? I actually hoped, like a part of me wanted to keep that version of myself because at least she's familiar. She was liked. I used to say that I was Switzerland. Like I never wanted to be hated. I never wanted to pick sides. At least she had an excuse for everything why she didn't move forward or didn't achieve her dreams. But when you stop playing the victim and start blaming yourself, you realize that that version of you is the enemy. Not other people, not circumstances, you. The one who accepted less, the one who stayed comfortable, the one that never took risks. So here is the brutal truth: you can't become dangerous and you can't become better if you keep the version of you that kept you small alive. You have to choose, and that choice will hurt. So write everything down about your old identity that needs to die: the habits, the excuses, the disbeliefs, the stories that you tell yourself. And then decide, are you willing to grieve that version in order to become better? Because if you're not willing to feel that pain, you are going to stay where you are forever. And the third sign is that your silence becomes more powerful than your words ever were. I used to fill every awkward, silent moment with nervous words. If someone would challenge me, I would go into defensive rants to prove my worth or to look funny or to sound interesting. Because when you're playing the victim, you need external validation. You need people to know that you exist. You need to prove yourself every second of the day. But when I stopped being the victim, my relationship with silence completely changed. And I realized that weak people talk all the time, and that strong people listen and observe. These people who become threats are like they don't need to announce themselves. I I will never forget these moments at work. Like 2 months ago, there was this huge drama at work. Like you know these toxic workspaces, right? They love to talk about people behind their backs. They love to gossip, and the old version of me would go crazy. Like it's not true what they're saying, so I would prove myself, or I would find a person to talk to. Like, okay, can you say that because it's not true? Like I always needed to give an explanation for everything, even though if it was the truth or if it was like gossip, I would always answer. But 2 months ago, it happened, and at some point, they were telling people things about me that were not true. So I had to sit down for a second, and there was this colleague with me, and I told her, like, okay, I have three options. Like, I could just shut up and say nothing and calm down, or I would fight, or I would take revenge. But I decided to just sit down, stay calm, and 1 week or two after it, I left. And the moments that I had to work, like I didn't even talk to anyone anymore. I let my silence speak. You could feel the entire energy of the room just shift. And most of them were uncomfortable because they didn't know what I was thinking, or like I was just there, just existing, and I didn't care. And yes, they paid attention because my silence said more than my words ever could. And that's when I knew I changed. Because when you take responsibility for your own life, your silence makes people lean in instead of tune out. You develop this presence that doesn't need noise. And when you do speak, it's rare, it's intentional, so people listen. So here is your challenge. I want you to practice silence this week. Speak 50% less. Let uncomfortable pauses exist and watch how people react when you're not performing for them. They will start to perform for you. And the fourth and final sign is that you became unrecognizable for everyone that knew the old you. And this is when you know that you have fully crossed over. When people you have known for years started acting like you're a stranger. And instead of apologizing for it, you embrace it. So let me get personal for this one. And this is not a long time ago, it's recently. And because the moment when I started making content, I changed as well. Like I even changed harder than I was already doing. And while giving people life lessons, I started to use them for myself as well. Because it's time to use it for myself as well, because I'm so good at giving advice, but following it, it's different. And I know most of you can relate. And the person that I'm talking about right now is painful because he looked at me and he told me, "You have changed." It's someone who knew the old me very well, the one that was lovable, the one that agreed on everything, the one that always was available, the one who always put other people first, the one who never stood up for herself. And old me would have panicked. I would give an explanation why. I would explain myself, why I'm doing what I'm doing. I would explain my business. I would explain why I want to change, but it doesn't need explanation at all. So I told him, yes, I've changed. And you're missing the old version of me that was easy to manipulate. You're right, she's dead. Because here's what being dangerous means: it means that you have to be willing to lose yourself in order to find yourself. The victim version of you is familiar. That version of you is predictable. People know how to manipulate you, people know how to control you, they know what they can use to make you feel bad. They will use guilt. And when you kill that version, they don't know how to react anymore. And that terrifies the hell out of them. They cannot predict your moves because you're not moving from the same wounded place anymore. They would probably say that you're too intense, you're too focused, oh, you don't care about others, you only care about your goals, you only care about your life, you're selfish. You became so cold, and you know what? Yes. Yes, I did. Because the people pleasing Mine had to freeze to death to become this version of myself. And the brutal truth is that the transformation from being a victim to a threat is not a glow up. It's a complete identity overhaul. It's uncomfortable, it's isolating, it's painful. It feels like your world is falling apart. Because when you kill your old identity, everything follows. Your outer world, it follows. So friendships will be gone. You might let go of a relationship. You might lose your job that you once loved. It might be possible that your friends and family are against you. So it's painful as hell. And there will even be and there will even be moments that you don't even recognize yourself. You will be asking yourself, who am I becoming? Who am I even now? You have to be willing to become a stranger to everyone else and even to yourself to finally find out who you were always meant to be. And it will keep on hurting. You will have to do this over and over and over again because we don't always stay the same. Like life, that's the beautiful thing of life. You keep evolving and you keep on becoming someone new, but you have to take the losses with you, otherwise, you're going to be stuck at the same place for the rest of your life. So stop being recognizable for people who you used to know. Let them be uncomfortable, let them lose you, let them miss the old version of you that they try to control. So this week, when someone tells you you've changed, don't defend it, own it, say I know, and keep moving. So here it is, 4 brutal signs that you have stopped being a victim and became a threat. You blame yourself even though it's painful. You killed the old version of you and you grieve it. Your silence became a weapon and you became unrecognizable to everyone around you. So if you're experiencing any of these, congratulations, you're growing, you're transforming, you are becoming better step by step, day by day. You're in the transformation and it is supposed to hurt, but know that you are not alone and know that this is needed. So if you're serious about killing your old identity and become the best version of yourself, stick around. They always ask me, how did you get here so young? So now you know it. I stopped making excuses and I started making sacrifices. And the last thing that I want you to know is that it's okay to feel, it's also okay to heal, and it's okay to not feel sorry for wanting more of life because you deserve more and you are not alone. Thank you for watching.